This looks like it was at my mother's graduation. I think she was pursuing her MBA, and I was born when she was in her last year. So I was probably around 2 months old. I was born in March and graduation is in May, presumably. So that's my mom on the right, and then my grandma, my mother's mom, and then my dad, me, and then my grandfather is on the left. I feel like an only child most of the time. My brothers were born, I have 2 younger brothers. They're 11 and 13, so they're a lot younger than me. So I grew up feeling like an only child. My mom's one that I look up to a lot, but I feel like I might not go down the same trajectory as her. Just because we're not interested in the same things professionally, I think.
So I took ballet when I was 3 to 4 years old, I'm pretty sure. I took it for a little bit. But yeah, it's really funny because my parents are kind of traditional people, but they signed me up for ballet at the age of I think 3. So that's me doing ballet, I think. And I guess at the age of 3 or 4, I was defying gender norms, or my parents were. I think it was one of those things where, I guess I never really thought about it until I saw the photo. And I think it certainly has influenced the way that I approach things. I think my parents gave me a lot of opportunities to kind of explore what I wanted to do, but they never kind of pushed it upon me, which I think puts them at the top percentile for Asian parents. They were never the type that would force me into something that I didn't want to do. So my childhood was really kind of this mixed bag of things that I tried a bunch of different things. Yeah, and I'm really thankful because I know a lot of people who don't share that same experience, and I think that has really fundamentally changed how I, the trajectory of my life.
I was probably 5 or 4 years old. Yes, I was drawing something indeed, as you can tell from the photo. I remember there was this gathering thing of little children painting or drawing or doodling under the signature sculpture of Shenyang, the city where I'm from. I don't recall whether this is a competition or not, but I would say probably it was, because everything tends to feel more like a competition back in China when I was little. I've never totally given up drawing. I have to say my skills are not that professional, but I just like doodling by myself from time to time. Yeah, I was just doodling last night actually. It was fun.
Can you show me your doodle from last night? Oh, we'll do it later.
Sadly, it's in the trash can. But yes, it was not a successful doodle to my standard. But yeah, nothing too serious.
So this was when I was 5, and at that point I was living in Tianjin, China, and this was when my dad received his PhD, and my mom and I went and celebrated kind of with him, and yeah, that's me with his graduation cap, which is very cute. I actually really fondly remember this day because my mom took me out to McDonald's. And it's really funny because my dad and I never really had the best relationship. And I think, you know, it wasn't until like maybe the age of like 13 or 14 when I stopped like being scared of him. So yeah, it's kind of a funny day, like look in retrospect, because it's a day when like our family was like very much together, but like I still remember that time as a time when I was like still very much intimidated by my dad. And it's like, it's really funny because my dad's a double doctor, right? So he's like this PhD MD, and he's like the epitome of like academic success. And you know, roughly like 4 years ago, I was convinced that I was going to be an art student, and that like kind of freaked out my entire family. And my grandfather's like also a doctor, and I think like my great grandfather was also a doctor. So it's like, and I have no plans of becoming a doctor in either sense.
I think I was probably about 6, and I'm with my cousin who's from my mom's side, and she's 3 years younger than me, my cousin, so I think she's about 3 in this photo. So her name is Ada, and we used to be both the only child in our family. Now she has a younger brother. I'm still the only child, but we used to be really, really close because we would spend a lot of time, especially during breaks, together. We lived really close to each other. I think I mostly grew up with my grandfather, and she mostly grew up with our grandmother when we were really little. But because we were living so close to each other, and because our families were always really close, she felt like a sibling to me. And I think she still kind of does. I think I don't know, consider myself really lucky to have her, my cousin, when I was growing up, so I wasn't that lonely as an only child. And yeah, we don't really share clothes anymore, but we go shopping together sometimes. And oh yeah, and we went to the same kindergarten, the same elementary school, the same middle school, the same high school.
This was taken at home in Shanghai. I was in 3rd grade, so around 8 years old. And I think these were my friends at the time: Sunny, Karina, Marissa. Marissa wanted to be I think she wanted to be a model. And Sunny and I liked to make kimbap together. I went to a school where people moved away pretty often. So Marissa moved away the next year. But Sunny and Karina stayed with me until like high school graduation. This was at school. I was in middle school, probably 7th grade. Rachel is on the left. Madeline is on the right. We're sitting across from our homeroom, like the classroom that was our homeroom. This might have been in the morning or in the afternoon. I can't really tell or remember. I guess I was more like adventurous with my clothing in middle school. Like I feel like I wouldn't wear those like padded shoulders. I think something else that's kind of interesting about an international school is that people sometimes move away like unexpectedly. Sometimes it's expected, like when Rachel moved away, we knew that she was going to another school. But sometimes it's because people's parents, you know, their jobs like transfer them to some other place, or like teachers might suddenly want to travel to another place. So there's a lot of change in that sense. But I don't know, I think it was an interesting experience, and definitely shaped me to be who I am today, at least in part.
Do you miss middle school?
I think I like college better. You know, there's more freedom. I don't really miss it.
So this was taken when I just finished middle school. You can see 4 girls in the photo. The one right next to me would be Qian. Many of you may know her. She goes to Middlebury, by the way, a film major. we three were very good friends back then. So after she moved to Shanghai, my heart broke a little bit. As you can know how devastating that must have been for a 8-year-old Lyra, probably. But yeah, we had this gathering after we finished middle school, just to like catch up with each other, I guess. So this was actually taken in Shenyang, my city. As you can tell, we all had the same hairstyle. I have to say I didn't like it too much. It's like this school rule thing. Everyone just had to cut their hair. I don't know why. Oh, I know why, because otherwise it would look too attractive. This is too problematic, I don't want to say it. Too attractive or too distracting. Same rules apply to guys, only that they need to cut their hair even shorter. So yeah, that's the story of the hair thing. I was excited because because sometimes you get this feeling that friends or families, people can be removed from your life so easily, but when you get the other way around, when you get someone back in your life, it's just a happy thing to have.
So this photo was in Hong Kong, and it was with my godfather and my parents, and I have like this really interesting kind of like, I guess like life story, in the sense that I was born in China, moved to San Francisco and grew up in San Francisco for 6 years, and then went back to China for 3 years before then going to Rhode Island for like 4 years. Within that time in San Francisco, my dad like started this program at UCSF that helped Chinese speakers learn English and English speakers learn Chinese. And that's where I like met my godfather. And when we moved back to China, my godfather moved to Hong Kong, and Guangzhou and Hong Kong are roughly an hour apart. So we became really close. And I think this was one Christmas when we like met up and kind of celebrated Christmas together. But yeah, I think it's funny because I've been in a lot of different places, and for me it has been consistently hard to tell people where home is, but I think at this point it feels like home is where like I can find people who I care about. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was last Christmas when I went back home to Shanghai, and she was there too. She goes to university in Singapore, where her dad is from. So we were on the subway, we're just kind of on a date, just going somewhere, and I was going to develop my films for my film camera, and I had a couple films left on that roll, so I was just shooting random stuff, and that's for the reflection in the subway of us. I think it reminds me of when we were little, and you know, when you're little and you're in a big city, your parents don't really allow you to go out alone, and I don't know when we started to be allowed to do that just on ourselves, but every time that we got to do that, I think I was really excited, and I felt the kind of responsibility that I had as the bigger cousin, but also just the fact that I felt like we were growing up. And she actually, most recently she visited me when I was studying abroad in Germany, and I think that was the first time she traveled alone abroad. And I think that was, there's a lot of trust that her parents put in me for her to do that, because she flew to Germany alone, and I picked her up and she stayed with me. So I feel like we don't talk that often anymore now because we're pretty busy, but every time we see each other it's still like the old times, and I'm really proud of her, of what she does now, and she's actually coming to my graduation.
I don't think you can even graduate, right? You like get your PhD, right? I don't know.
Or like 1995 or something. What are you doing?
Are you okay?